Hello everyone, it's Shane Kanto, your Wasteland reviewer, and I'm here to review Alpha. Now, I need to preface this. I think this was a very interesting film to at least go check out, honestly because of the situation around it more than I was enamored by the trailers. This was originally supposed to come out earlier this year, and when the trailers came out, it was intense, it was dark, it was something like, this really was intriguing to me. And it's like you don't really see these kinds of films being made, which is like a prehistoric thing and dealing with the wilderness. It looked like a teenager-led version of like The Revenant, honestly. And I'm like, okay, I can dig this. And then it got pushed back to August, and when it got re-released with trailers, it was like Imagine Dragons Pompeii kind of music playing, and it's like, this is a movie about a kid and his dog. And I'm like, did they reshoot this? Did they completely change the tone of this movie? Did they try to repackage this because they didn't think anybody would see the other version, but now this is going to be a kind of family movie? And I went to go see it. Ignore the newer trailers because this is what it originally was marketed as, and honestly, don't bring your kids to see this movie. It's intense and it made me happy. I think Albert Hughes, who I looked him up afterwards, made films like Book of Eli and stuff like that, and I'm like, oh, now I get it. It's a very bleak, dark wasteland of a film, and I think that Albert Hughes does a great job of creating that and really fleshing out a realized view of this space, this world that we're going to be in for an hour and 35 minutes, and I was a really big fan of that. And this was an emotional film. You really feel for this young kid. Now, along with The Revenant, which I had some problems with The Revenant because basically it just felt like, okay, how much more awful things can happen to this character? Kind of the same thing here, but you really do feel the emotion, and it is tense and suspenseful at moments. And I think a lot of that has to do with how this was shot and directed, and it really was something very well put together and really did keep me on the edge of my seat for the most part, but I'll get to that in a minute. But it was an ominous and also triumphant use of score throughout, with Joseph DeBisi and Michael Stearns, who put this score together. There was moments where it was like dark and atmospheric, which really worked for certain scenes, and then this triumphant feel-good score when there is moments where that worked for it. And I think that the score did a really good job of trying to sell the emotions of the film. And honestly, the cast, which mostly Cody Smith-McPhee, who's the young teenager who's put in this situation, everybody does a really good job. And also really selling this language that they do, because this whole film's in subtitles. Just to let you know, there's no English in this, and it's all subtitles. So if you think this is a kid's movie, hope your kids are ready to read. But the cinematography by Martin Lishlack, I know I messed that up, I apologize, but the cinematography in this was gorgeous. Wow, how this was shot, the lighting, the mood that it all set, how things were shot, the framing of everything, and these long wilderness shots. It was amazing. I was really impressed by the cinematography. That really grabbed me. And there's surprising practicality in this, because there was CGI, and I'll get to that in a minute, but the use of like an actual wolf and stuff like that really made some moments really work for me. But the thing is, this film is slow at moments, and for an hour and 35-minute film, you don't want stuff to drag. It did drag, and it was a bit repetitive at moments, and none of the characters have anything too particularly interesting to do, besides the fact that there's this relationship between Cody Smith-McPhee and his father, which I think that really works, but it's only like a third of the movie, because the rest of it, he's out in the wilderness. Obviously, it's driving him to get home, but it's like you don't really learn anything about this character. They don't really have interest. They don't really have anything to particularly relate to. The CGI can be iffy at moments. This isn't like a big blockbuster kind of CGI put together film. This isn't going to look like Blade Runner 2049 that was like $170 million budget. this is something that it does have a bit iffy CGI at moments. And it is predictable. It's like there's not a whole lot unexpected going on in this film, nor is it very unique in terms of the general story it's trying to tell. But honestly, this was really well put together. It was gorgeous, and I was really surprised by this. But really, this is not a kids movie. It can get brutal and violent. So if you want to like think this is like a family film, it's not. If you think that like if you enjoyed The Revenant and want something similar to that, oh, but a little toned down, this isn't that bad. I think you would appreciate this film, and I appreciate it for its gorgeous camera work and cinematography and everything like that. So if you are interested in stuff like that, go check this out. If you were looking for a family film, go see something else, because this really isn't that. But thank you always for tuning in to your Wasteland Reviewer.